Welcome to the Steve Stine Guitar Podcast, brought to you by GuitarZoom.com. If you want to improve your guitar playing, keep listening. If you want to improve even faster, go to GuitarZoom.com, where you'll find all of Steve's premium courses, masterclasses, and memberships that'll help you quickly and easily improve your playing. Now here's your host, Steve Stine.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at playing over a fifth string bar chord. So we're going to look at a D major bar chord. Okay, and what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be visualizing this third finger right here, which is playing 7, 7, 7. Those notes right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to improvise using the D major pentatonic scale. Now, if you don't know this, don't stress over it, but what I'm technically doing is playing the D major pentatonic scale over this chord. But you can see how they're overlapping each other. If I see this D chord and I look at those notes right there, they are part of that D major scale right there, the D major pentatonic. So instead of thinking of it as a scale, though, I want you to see how it's working, but instead of thinking of it as a scale, I'm just thinking of it as a place to go to add some cool little licks over this D chord. So what I like to do is I'll start with my D, and then I'll slide into the position from 7 to 9 there, and now I'm in that pentatonic scale. What I essentially did was go... You see, so I'm playing pentatonic, but again, I'm not really thinking of it like that. I'm just seeing this chord shape. So I'm playing this, and then I've got... Now, I don't have to play it up and down like I just did. I can go in there and do anything I want. So if I hear this chord, or anything I want to do, okay? Now again, this stuff takes some time to get used to, but I want you to see the shape. Now here's the cool part. Sometimes what I like to do is because I know this 7 and this 7 and this 7 are all part of this chord, what I'll do is play 2 of those 3 strings and then add, like right there, what I did is a little hammer-on onto the 9th fret. Or I might do that on the 3rd string. Or I go to these 2 strings right here, which are part of that chord, and I do a hammer-on onto the 3rd string. Okay? You get these great Jimi Hendrix kind of things. Sound really, really neat. So you can go in there and play whatever, right? Play some single note stuff, but maybe you go in there and do some chord stuff. See? Now here's the cool part. If this chord progression, for instance, went to C, I take the entire package of what I'm talking about and I just move down 2 frets. Okay? I refer to this as chord chasing, which is I'm just playing a chord and I'm doing something over that chord. So if you think about it, technically what's happening is over the D chord, I played in D major pentatonic. Over the C chord, I played in C major pentatonic.
If you're enjoying this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, go to GuitarZoom.com and consider becoming a premium member. There are 3 memberships to choose from. VIP, which gives you instant access to a library of short but powerful courses as well as new bite-sized lessons each month. There's also Play Songs that gives you step-by-step lessons so you can learn to play your favorite songs fast. And finally, there's Masterclass, university-level training on everything from soloing to music theory, from blues to home recording. For more info about these memberships and all the premium courses available to you, go to GuitarZoom.com. Now back to the podcast.
But again, that's what's actually happening, but I don't really think of it that way. I just comp over the chord. And then, let's say we go up to G. See? There's just so many really beautiful things that you can do. Now that's a 5th string chord. Let's look at a 6th string chord once. So let's put our D, our C, and let's put our G here. Now G, you got to be a little more careful. You don't have as much to work with, but you can certainly play these notes right here. So I'm doing the same kind of slide idea, but I really only have those 3 strings to work with. But I can still do that right there where I'm pressing on 5 and 5. Sounds really neat. Or I can press on the 5s of the 4th and 5th strings. You see? The other thing, now this is the kicker. The other thing that's really cool about this is notice how I played D, and then I played C, and then I played G, and then I went back to D. So I might play D, so at the end of G, I just kept going, because right there, I'm on the D to go back up to that position. So I just rounded around and came back to the other side where I started from on this D chord, from this G. You see? Now, to end off this little conversation, because this is just a really beautiful thing for you to practice and explore a little bit. And again, don't worry about the licks that I'm playing so much, because that's going to be a huge variable. There's a few things in here that you can look at, but it's going to change drastically depending on what it is that you're doing. But what I want you to think about too is that if you're really able to visualize the chord that you're playing, this D, and this C, and this G, okay? What I like to do sometimes is, instead of always feeling obligated to go back to the bar chord shape, and then do something, and then do something, and then do something, I don't go back to the bar chord shape. I just outline the chord somehow. So I might go, and watch this. See, I never went back here. I just saw these right here, and now here comes the G chord. Now I can go all the way down there, but what I like to do is, if we look at that G bar chord, these guys right here of that chord, since I'm sitting right here, I'll just drop down and play those, and then I can go back to my D. So this is how you start learning how to play a chord and solo kind of at the same time. You see, you might be playing the chord and then riff, and then play the chord and riff, and play the chord and riff. Or you might not play the chord. You're just outlining the chord when you want your listener to hear. Now again, this can go, you could study this for hours, and it's great. For me, this is like, again, it always reminds me so much of Hendrix, but there's so many other players that do this kind of thing, but it's just a really beautiful sound. And it doesn't require us to have to think about scales and all these other things. We're just exploring the sound of each chord as we're playing. Next time on the Steve Stine Guitar Podcast, All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about two really, really important things on your blues journey here, which is touch and tone. And these things can make a huge difference in the outcome or success of whatever it is that you're trying to play. Now, obviously, this works in any style of music, but we're going to be gearing our discussion toward blues. Okay, so what I want you to be thinking about here is that if I was trying to, let's say I was trying to play more of a mellow blues thing, right? And I'm plugged into a Mesa Boogie and I've got my gain all the way up, or I'm plugged into a 5150 and I've got my gain dimed. I've got it all the way up. Obviously, I'm setting myself up for failure because the tone that I'm going to get is not really appropriate for the situation that I'm finding myself in. And so I have to be aware of that, right? Now, again, my job isn't to tell you that you should own this amp or don't own this amp or own 7 of these amps. It's not that. I've always been a very simple person in terms of having a lot of amps and all that sort of thing. I played a Line 6 Bogner tube amp for 15 years on stage, and it sounded great, and I got all kinds of tones out of it. And so for me, it isn't the brand so much. I mean, as guitar players, obviously we love to buy gear, right? But it isn't about that. It's about dialing in the right thing for the situation that you find yourself in. Hey, Steve Stine here from GuitarZoom.com, and thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, can I ask you a favor? Please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. Your feedback means more to me than you'll ever know. And be sure to check out my YouTube channels where you'll find over 1,000 videos to help you with your guitar playing. Thanks again for listening. Stay positive, keep playing, and keep having fun.
If you'd like some help with your guitar playing but you're not sure how to get started, go to GuitarZoom.com and look for the Help Me Choose survey. By answering a few simple questions, you'll get Steve's personal recommendation of the perfect course for you. All this and more is available for you at GuitarZoom.com.